LTU Sports Report is brought to you by the City of Southfield, the center of it all, and Hungry Howie's, famous for flavor. Hey there, Blue Devil fans, and welcome to another episode of the LTU Sports Report. I'm your host, Jenna Rose. Today's show features more strength and conditioning tips from Coach Brian Whiting. We also have a Coach's Spotlight interview, highlights, and so much more. But first, we love being able to stay in touch with our student athletes from home during this time. And this week we have a get-to-know segment from the LTU women's lacrosse team.
I'm Gabby Mitchell. I play lacrosse and I'm a nursing major. My favorite activity to do during quarantine is definitely cooking. I've been getting really good at it and I watch Food Network all the time. My favorite show to binge watch is The Office because I grew up watching it with my cousins and it's really funny. My favorite superhero would have to be Spider-Man just because he's really youthful and he kind of reminds me of my own personality. And he's got cool power. I have a lot of celebrity crushes. Currently, I would say it's A$AP Rocky because he's a good musician and he's also a fashion icon. One thing I want to cross off my bucket list would definitely be traveling the world, going to Italy, traveling through Europe. Yeah, I just want to travel, honestly. My favorite animal is actually an orca whale. I don't really know why. I like the water a lot and they're huge. And they're good swimmers. My favorite vacation spot has to be California, anywhere on the West Coast, because I like to surf. If I could join any band ever, any girl band ever, it would probably be Destiny's Child, because they're all queens and they all kill it and they're good at dancing.
If you're looking for ways to build your strength and work out from home, look no further. Be sure to follow along with head strength and conditioning coach Brian Whiting for his tip of the day.
Sure, with you being stuck at home, you're finding it difficult to establish a proper routine. One byproduct of not having a proper routine is a lack of quality sleep. Sleep deprivation can lead to problems with alertness, reaction time, immune system function, and recovery. All those things help with your performance. Keys to some better sleep are putting down your phone, turning that blue light off well before you actually go to bed, establishing a good routine, going to bed at the same time every night, and getting at least 8 hours. Try doing those things, establish a routine, stick with it, and see your performance increase.
Next up, we have Dylan Morello, who recently caught up with the head coach for the men's and women's tennis teams here at LTU to talk about what's in store for the upcoming tennis season.
Dylan Morello here with LTU Sports Report, joined by the LTU head coach of the men's and women's tennis team, Stephen Behmlander. How have you been doing during the quarantine? We've been cooped up just as much as you, I'm sure. Just take us through your thought process and how you've been doing at home.
Just trying to stay safe, do our best to keep the recruits as well as our returning players kind of in the loop. My biggest concern is their health and well-being, and so any information that's gleaned from the school or going from the NAIA or the WAC is passed on to them. So everybody's healthy and we'll continue to knock on wood and hope we get through this safely.
Oh yeah, you're talking about keeping everybody healthy. Last season kind of ended abruptly, for that purpose. Just take us through really how your team and the staff handled that situation. We know it was tough for everyone involved.
It was. If I was the only coach that had to go through that, then I'd say woe is me. But we were down in Hilton Head, South Carolina on spring break, and we just finished our 4th match of 5, and the NAIA came down and said, that's it. And so we usually take a couple of days to get back. We stay overnight somewhere between Hilton Head and Southfield, and kind of the long story short was I said, guys, we're going to try to push right through. And so my 2 assistants were on board and told the kids, we'll stop plenty of times to stretch our legs, but the long and short of it, I think it took about 16 hours to get us back, but I felt once we got everybody back and at least safe in their dorm rooms, we'd all feel better about it.
For sure. So last season ending, new regulations this year. What do you think will be different with practices and games, and how will you handle those challenges this year?
Yeah, a couple of things that we've done right off the bat is our program is going into its 7th year, and we've always played a fall schedule. This year we're not going to. One of the mandates from the school was no overnights and no out-of-state travel, which is basically our entire fall season. We play mostly tournament play because we get more matches in. and we get tuned up for the spring. I canceled our fall warm-up season since we are a spring sport. I was talking to somebody yesterday. We're going to have, of our 7 new recruits between the two teams, we're only going to have 2 of those kids physically on campus, along with probably a handful of returners on the men's side, and we'll have most of our girls team. We'll continue to practice, we'll continue to social distance, and we'll continue to keep an eye out. I mean, the precautions that I've listed, it's a list as long as your arm that we're going to be taking. Our indoor courts are closed, obviously, so everything we'll do outside. And if the weather doesn't cooperate, then so be it. We will forego practice on a day like that, but we will practice through the fall.
Sounds like a great plan. Looks like you guys have it handled and figured out, but you just mentioned too a couple of new recruits. Can you enlighten us really on the challenges you faced in recruiting this season and really what you expect from the new faces to bring to the squad?
Great question, in that we were fortunate enough to get each of the kids that we went after this year. We're bringing 4 new boys on and 3 new girls between the two teams, and we got our recruiting out of the way early this year. So before this really hit, I think we had most everybody signed, sealed, and delivered, at least some in August and some in January. And how they'll fit into the team from the men's side, we've recruited size and speed, which was really needed in the middle of our lineup, both doubles and singles. And on the ladies' side, we graduated a couple of kids that really will take the wind out of our sails as far as experience. And so the new kids on the ladies' side are going to be asked to perform immediately.
Yeah, so you're talking about new challenges, new players. On a final note, any season goals or things you really have that you want to accomplish with both your squads this year?
Yeah, on the men's side, we'd like to get back to the national level. We are still relatively young. The core of our men's team will only be juniors. We've got a bunch of terrific young players that will be sophomores this year that will contribute. But the interesting thing is I'm bringing in 2 graduate students who will lend a little maturity and a little experience to a young squad. So I think we've got the right mix. It's just a matter of us getting back on campus and getting the teams out and taking a look at them. On the ladies' side, as I say, we'd like to get at least in the national conversation. I think we'll have a competitive squad that will compete well in the WAC this year. But as I say, we've got 3 that will immediately, 3 freshmen, incoming freshmen, that will immediately be asked to fill some big shoes. And so that said, I think we'll be a little raw, but I think they'll also be a little hungry. So I'm looking forward to having both sets of new recruits on campus as quickly as possible, but also as safely as possible.
Oh yeah, that sounds good, Coach. Thank you once again for your time. We're excited to see all you guys back out there on the court and filming interviews and filming highlights of your squads.
The 2019-2020 women's lacrosse season may have been cut short. However, that did not stop them from giving it their all and ending the season 4-1. Let's take a look back at some of those highlights. we have another strength and conditioning tip from head coach Brian Whiting. Let's check it out.
Shake off that weekend laziness. It's time for core blaster number 3. Extended high plank, 60 seconds. Reverse crunch, 60 seconds. And V-sits for 60 seconds. 3 rounds, minimal rest in between. Get after it.
For our last segment of the show, we get to know one of our outstanding student athletes and find out what it's like to balance schoolwork and playing competitive sports at Lawrence Tech.
My name is Manasa Potluri. My major is architecture. I'm on the golf team and I'm going to be a junior. I started playing golf just the summer before my freshman year of high school. And when I first started playing, I didn't really like it that much. My dad kind of forced me into it. And around my junior year of high school, I started playing competitively, and that's when I started to realize that I wanted to play in college too. It's definitely made me a lot more organized, and it's made me management time a lot better. Before going to college, I definitely did not do that very well, and I struggled a lot my freshman year. Over time, I learned how to deal with everything a lot better, and it's definitely helped me in the classroom, not procrastinating so much and getting things done. Before I came to LTU, I wasn't even sure that I wanted to do architecture. From coming to this school and learning architecture from the professors here, it has really impacted my view on architecture, I guess. I think the way that they taught us in the classes here in the whole school has really helped me to love it.
That's all we have for you today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to tune in next week for more interviews and highlights right here on the LTU Sports Report. And as always, be sure to follow us on social media at LTU Athletics for daily updates on everything happening at Lawrence Technological University. Have a great weekend, everyone, and I'll see you next time.